Hi everybody, I'm Joe Summers with Chilili, where we celebrate water in the garden. I wanted to show you what to do with your lotus tuber once you receive it from us in the mail. If you purchase it from us, it's probably going to come in a plastic bag, and you want to gently unpack it. You want to be really careful not to break any of these tips. Those growing tips are really crucial. The inner nodes, or these storage mechanisms, are what's going to give that lotus a start in the springtime. If you don't have a greenhouse, then you want to store your lotus tuber in the refrigerator until it's 50 degrees or above at nighttime in your zone of the country. Once you've reached the optimum time for planting in terms of temperature, you want to choose a container that has no holes. No holes are going to allow that soil to stay nice and wet, just like the lotus wants. You also want to pick a good soil. This soil is a custom blend that we make here at Chilili, and it's composed of topsoil, sand, and compost. What you don't want to use is any soil that came from a bag, unless it's aquatic soil. If you don't have access to topsoil from your yard, which is the second best thing to use for your lotus, then we have a third choice. We can use aquatic soil. Alright, so we've chosen a container that has no holes, we've chosen a nice soil for our lotus, and now it's time to simply plant that booger. Once our soil's in, we want to make a slurry of mud. So all we're going to do is add some tap water. If you feel more comfortable, you can add dechlorinator if you're on city water. If not, most of the time that does just fine. So we're just going to add a little bit of water. Make sure it's a nice muddy mess. We got our lotus tuber. Look at all those nice tips. And we're really just going to push that down into the soil. We want to be gentle with those tips. Make sure we don't break them. If we have to, we'll add a little more soil to cover that tuber. And really, that's it. All you have to do is make sure that this stays wet for a couple weeks. After that, we can go ahead and start adding layers of water on top. Until once it's really established, we'll have water over the top of the container. Depending on the type of your lotus is going to depend on what size pot you want. So a smaller variety is going to go into a small pot. This one happens to be just 10 inches. Again, I'm just pressing that tuber in, making sure those tips don't break, and covering a little bit. Here's what it looks like dry. This is one of the easiest plants you can grow. It's one of the easiest plants you can plant. As long as you don't break those tips, you're going to have success. So we just finished up planting those new pots of lotus, but I wanted to show you some that we did several weeks ago. When you first plant them up, again, I like just a little bit of water in there, and you'll be able to observe that the new plant is sending out new roots, those buds are starting to grow, and the leaves are starting to come up. This is the time that I start adding layers of water in, getting it used to a little bit of water at a time. So at Chilili, when we plant our lotus, we do not like to fertilize them at first. We like to get them well established. We want true leaves coming up out of the water. They're called aerial leaves. Once those leaves are shooting out of the water, then we would go ahead and fertilize. We do use an aquatic fertilizer. In fact, Chilili has its own brand, and I believe it's the best formulation. The tablets will look something like this, and all you're going to do is read the directions. Depending on the size of the container, it's going to tell you how many tabs to put in that container. I do thank you for watching. Check us out at chilili.com, Facebook, or Instagram.